Tottenham Hotspur have appointed Thomas Frank as their new head coach.
And the consistency and the players know the patterns. But of course I'm aware that we need to be flexible sometimes.
You look what Thomas Frank has done over the course of 7 highly successful years, you can understand why Tottenham would be interested.
Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at Aesthetica. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. This is episode 261, and we've got some positive results to talk about when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. I've got Scott alongside. He is at Scotchy Bird. Scott, what is up, my friend?
Positive Spurs results, positive Iowa State results. I actually four wins and 0 losses this weekend for my 4 sporting teams that I'm currently invested in at this point in the calendar year. So yeah, fantastic weekend. I'm happy to be here. It feels like it wasn't too long ago before we were here, so we didn't get fined. But it's nice to be here with you fellas.
No question about that. Todd is also here. He is at TC_show. TC, what's up, my friend?
Any day, brother. Any day you can get together with the boys and chat about a professional 2-0 victory in the Premier League is a good fucking day. Got some other things to chat about, and that's also exciting. Most importantly, though, Arsenal lost this weekend. So whenever you get a Tottenham win and an Arsenal loss in the same weekend, especially given the drought of Premier League victories Tottenham have had over the course of the last calendar year, it feels like you won twice. So I'll take it. Maybe
especially home victories.
I don't need to say more, sir. You understand the point.
And especially just the fact that it doesn't happen very often that Spurs win and Arsenal lose in the same weekend. So we definitely celebrate that when it does happen. As has been our way in recent months, this is Monday evening as we're recording this, night before the Champions League match against Slavia Prague at home. So not a lot to say about that one because by the time you listen to this, it's probably and possibly already happened. So just for context of when we're recording this and everything, which means it has also been nearly a week since Spurs went up to the Northeast and got a fairly important and honest, I would categorize this as fairly surprising 2-2 draw away to Newcastle in a match that was not going Spurs' way in many different ways, and then Cuti Romero just said, fuck it, I'll do it myself, and scores himself a brace, and Spurs walk away with what, like I said, is a pretty improbable point. Let's touch on this one for a moment, because I do think there are a few talking points from it, mostly being how the hell did Cuti Romero kick a ball overhead off his shin and managed to dribble it through four players, and nobody got a touch to it to steer it away from goal. That was really something. But let's just start on Cuti in this match, because Scott, this was him grabbing a game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, at one point in the second half, he was just straight up playing striker as a center back because Spurs needed something to go their way, and eventually it finally did, and it did twice in terms of Spurs being able to equalize 2 different times. What did you take away from this one? Spurs getting a point away.
And at one point, I figured Romero must be thinking, like, I can't believe this is my fucking team, and whatever. like you said, I'll do it myself. Kind of just that frustrated approach to the match, but honestly, I can't say enough about him. He is the only player on this team who pretty much walks into any 11 in the world, besides Arsenal probably, is the only place where I don't think he gets into the central defensive pairing, right? And I hate saying that, but that's just kind of cut and dry. It is what it is, right? But he gets into any other side in the world. He's a leader. He's a World Cup winner, as we all know, and he's the type you have to have his persona and his approach to the game to not only be in that position for the first goal to score that header, but then to try what he tried and pulled off for that second goal, right? So yeah, he's the best thing we have going for us at Tottenham Hotspur at the moment, without a doubt.
And it's funny because he's also still got that mean streak in him. He already has 2 yellow cards since returning.
Yeah.
from the yellow card
Well-
suspension in 2 matches.
Okay, to be fair, and we'll come on to it. He got that's the Cootie Romero hat trick, right? 2 goals and a yellow card. So we're
That's
good
exactly
on
what it
that.
is.
Yeah. So no. First off, fuck you, Scott. He absolutely gets into Arsenal's back line. Those bitches can kick rocks. Secondarily, you show me another center back pairing that's scoring Puskas winning goals left, right, and sideways in the world, because you can't, and we have them. And it's crazy. Also, a little birdie told me that the club is looking at a long-term extension for Mickey Van de Ven. So we'll see how that goes too, which is exciting.
Good.
But dude, Cootie Romero specifically just shows what world class actually means on a week in, week out basis. He really truly does. He only committed 1 foul in this game, but that 1 foul was so Cootie Romero that it got him a yellow card. So you add that to a diving fucking header and one of the most inexplicable bicycle kicks I've ever seen in my life. I don't know that I have the words to explain how that ball eluded so many people and found the back of the net. I don't understand it.
Part of it, I think,
know,
is
it's
because
been
it
a
was
week
so
since-
slow. Like, it was moving so slow that
It was
that
so
helped.
slow. And you know something, guys? It's been a week since this thing happened, and I still have not heard enough people talk about the fact that Romero was probably fouled before it even happened.
Yes.
He was drugged to the ground and had the gumption and the will to get up and still do that, like off of the floor. Like, he was completely flat on the floor and had to get up after the ball was knocked high into the air, find the ball, do what he did. It was really, really wild. And before we go any further, I also want to mention, like, you guys, you mentioned it, TC. Van de Ven scoring the way he has this season, Romero scoring the way that he has this season. The diving header, you know, the bicycle kick is going to get all the attention. The diving header was a hell of a play too.
Absolutely nasty diving header.
To get into the position that he did. Spurs are even getting wild goals from their center backs who are on loan. If no one saw the Luka Vuskovic score,
Oh my days.
for Hamburg, like, go look it up, because you'll be like, wait, what just happened there? It really is something though with Romero, because, like, I start to wonder, and I think I mentioned this maybe a week or two ago into a microphone. Like, I'm starting to wonder if this will and this determination that our defenders are having to score is out of necessity at this point, or if it's just something that comes along with this, because it seems like I said, Romero was legitimately just playing striker at certain points in this match. It was really wild to watch.
Yeah, I would
Well, I would definitely agree. And oh yeah, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, it would be nice if our center backs didn't have to score Puskas goals, and that's something I think we'll continue to talk about, right? We need more from the rest of our team, but without a doubt, those two are proving that whatever is required from a footballing perspective, they're willing and able to do it.
Well, I agree, and it's fantastic to see. It's the reason why those two have shared the armband this entire year, and I'm not mad about that at all. The way, and I think that it's important before we move on, Andrew, the way that Tottenham came back to get this draw up at Newcastle, I think some draws feel like losses. You feel like you pissed away a lead. Some draws feel like victories, and this one absolutely did. So, yes, it was a point, but it was a victory for Spurs. A moral one at that, I guess.
Well, I think you're spot on with that, TC, and especially coming off of the Fulham defeat at home, where spirits were really, really down, and then you're going to a place in St. James's Park where you have not had any success in recent seasons. In fact, you've had some of your worst defeats in recent seasons.
Traumatic defeats.
For them to be able to go do that, no question, I thought it showed a lot of gumption and just a lot of spirit on behalf of the team. Two more things I just want to mention from this match. I thought that the substitution of Matisse Tell was super important, super important. He, in fact, moments after he came on, was able to carry and make the switch of play that actually led to the first Romero goal on the cross from Kudus, which was really, really big. The other thing that, and I don't want to really belabor this because I think we're all going to be in super, super agreement on this, but I don't understand how in God's green earth you can be called for a foul when you are in a literal headlock. but that is what happened to Rodrigo Bentancur. And I kept hearing the point made that he was at fault because he wasn't looking back at the ball. And I never heard anyone say he wasn't able to look back at the ball because he was in a literal fucking headlock, like Dan Burn had him under his arm.
What people don't appreciate is that Dan Burn outweighs Rodrigo Bentancur by like 45 pounds. And all he was just doing was like clamping his arm on Rodrigo's head. There was no way that he could pick it up if he wanted to. And then, you've heard me say the phrase narrative affirming decisions on this show before, and that certainly felt like one. And it's interesting because you don't really need to keep a team down if you want to keep them out. It's one or two narrative affirming decisions. Tottenham don't win at St. James's Park. And if you can make that come true, it's only 2 points in the moment, and so no one's going to think much of it, but at the end of the season it makes a significant difference. So Tottenham is not the only team that this happens to. This happens around the league, and it's tough to see the farcical nature with which the Premier League manages their VAR.
Well, refereeing becomes...
I imagine
Oh, sorry.
I imagine only more of the same, Scotty. I imagine only more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, refereeing is subjective at this point. People can just decide what they feel like in the moment, and it's a massive issue that needs to be worked out. I mean, Rodrigo did, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'll play devil's advocate. Rodrigo did have his arms around Dan Burn as well. They called it a holding offense, right? So there is gray matter there to ponder over, but terrible call. I will also say, look in the mirror as a Spurs fan and say we were fucking terrible in this game, and so we have to 100%. Share. I mean, I'm talking like potentially negative XG, which I don't think that's possible, but as close as you can get to that, right? Is I think I know Arsenal was like 0.02.
It was actually 0.75, which to score 2 goals on 0.75 XG is really something. But...
It is.
It sounds like one would have to be like a diving header and the other like a crazy bicycle.
Sounds about that.
Exactly. But yeah, we were awful.
Point, Scotty. I think the fact that they were so bad is that speaks to TC's point. Like, this feels like a really great point. It feels like we almost got away with a little something to some extent.
100%. And I think you guys know or maybe do from the group chat, I was still quite unenthusiastic at the end of the match, and I was just I watched every minute of that match, and all I could think was we are in a really bad spot because we are absolutely terrible at soccer at this point, right? And now things will get better. I mean, when Cudi scored, my attitude was almost just like, whatever, dude, like, cool, we got a point. We have a lot of work to do. But now a week out, and we'll talk about the match that came after that, I do think that we took a lot away from that, and it's something that we can build off of. I'm not jumping for joy, and again, I'll talk about why that is, while we talk about the next match. But my point is, as drab as it was, something has to start the momentum when a team improves, and maybe rescuing that point at St. James Park can be that. So we'll see.
Well, let's get into that next match right away, because Brentford 2-0 at home, again, a home victory for Spurs, like, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
And I thought that this one was... I described this one in our WhatsApp chat as possibly the most comprehensive victory of the season, just because it never really felt like there was a doubt over it. And this was not a 4-0. This was not a 5-1. It was a 2-0 victory at home over a Brentford side that I thought just simply looked poor and kind of played in a very strange way to play against Spurs. They didn't press Spurs high and try and put pressure on us, but they also didn't sit back. They kind of played a middle ground, and there was actually nothing in the midfield for them, and it allowed us to do a lot of really special things. But overall, I just thought this was comfortable, and for once, that felt really, really nice to just have a comfortable home victory over a team that you feel like you are better than and you feel like you should beat. Obviously, it probably had a little bit of more significant meaning for Thomas Frank, being that he just came from there, knows a lot of how they operate, a lot of their players. So I thought it was a feel-good day. And I guess the place we start with this, TC, is Xavi Simons, because he came in to the starting 11 and kind of thrived in what, like I said, what was a very open and available midfield to him.
Well, Xavi Simons has to start. I want to say three things. First, go and look up the stats on the difference between when he starts and when he doesn't, and how Tottenham fare in that match. Two, he's the only creative player that we have in the fucking team. So, Thomas Frank, how about you start the guy? Three is he has gotten his ass kicked this entire year. And I have maligned him for that, as, to be fair, as I should, because he's been getting his ass kicked, and then he's been looking at a referee to save him, and they're going, get up, kid. And it's like, this is your welcome to the show moment. What are you going to do? You know, show me something, basically. Well, to his credit, it sounds as though like he's been getting in the gym. Frank spoke to that and said, you know, he's really putting in the effort on and off the pitch to get better. And we're really starting to see that. One of my favorite parts about Xavi Simons when he came on in the Newcastle game is he got properly stuck in immediately. And I went, okay, who is this? All right, let's see what we're doing. And that sort of work rate and tenacity is what created the goal, for the opportunity for the goal that he scored this week, because he had a heavy touch. He went to get stuck in. The ball bounced him favorably, and he was able to take off and use his speed and do what he does best, which is not think, just finish, right? He also made the other goal in the match, which was just – it's one of those muscle memory sort of opportunities for both him and Richarlison. Like, Richarlison tried really hard to miss that, but like the pass that Simmons provided was so perfect. And
he scored a goal.
I said,
feet, man, let's give him a.
However, the caveat that I stated is yes, he scores, but it's like he has the ability to score in the box, but it is on a volley or a half volley. It's always something. If you go back and look at that goal, that ball was definitely up in the air. He didn't kick the ball through on the ground. That was 100% on a half volley, and my guy tried really hard to shelf that thing. But fortunately, he was too close to the goal to miss. So I put all of that. Xavi Simons made that goal, right? I absolutely stand by that. But shout to Kudus for absolutely skinning that poor kid on the wing there and putting in a ridiculous shift all the way around. It definitely led to that goal actually happening. So Xavi Simons has to start going forward because he's the only creative force that we had. Previously, he was getting his ass kicked, and he's doing a better job now. And I like his industry. And he's got a little confidence to him now. So he got to do his little fucking I'm your little teapot celebration or whatever the fuck he does. And so, you know, now it's time for us to do something. I get the phone thing, dude. But, like, what are we doing here? What are you, Mrs. Butterworth? Like, what the fuck are we talking about, Xavi? Get out of here.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Watch, it's going to be like for his kid brother that passed away or something. I'm going to feel like an asshole. But I'll tell you what, all I can think, because he's so little, all I can think about is I'm little teapot, short and stout. Anyway.
The 6 Elliott, that's what he's doing.
I'll say this about Xavi. Like you said, he got stuck in. I mean, he full on made a slide tackle to get that ball back after the heavy touch leading to his goal. And I do applaud him for, like you said, something seems to have clicked a little bit there. And I've said all along with Xavi, I do think he's a little bit undersized. That's something that he can grow into in this league, I still think. And I always kind of knew it was going to take time with him. And
yeah,
I'll be honest.
He just looks soft.
But I'll be honest, if it's only taken until December, January for it to click for him, I think that's a really, really good thing.
Dude, 100% agree.
I'm fully expecting it to take an entire season for him to fully acclimate to this league.
But he's a talent, Scott. Sure. He's a special talent. And you can be undersized in this league. You just have to be stout. You have to be robust. Mm-hmm. And you can grow into that, to your point.
Yeah, Scotty? You guys beat me to it. I was just going to jump in and say there's been so much in every group chat I'm in, and I love everyone that I'm communicating with in these group chats, right? Never talking shit, but just been a lot.
They're not listening. It's fine. They're not listening. It's fine.
Fair, a lot of Xavi slander. It's all over the interwebs, right? Like, I ask people to take a step back. Anytime someone moves from the Bundesliga and they're a small, creative, attacking player, they struggle to the adjustment of the Premier League. Florian Wirtz, for example, is having a shit time. We'll leave it at that, right? And he is well thought to be the best 10 in the world at this point in time, right? And he's really struggling with the transition. So it would be at best illogical to think that this would happen any sooner than it's happening, right? He looked really good in this game. I think Xavi Simons is, in my time as a Spurs fan, which is 2011 through now, I think the best signing that I have seen us make. And I'm not saying he's going to be the best player. Like, people become Son Heung-min, right? And there are players who are very talented. I'm not saying that I think he'll be the best player that's ever played for Spurs, but at the time, the present, when we signed a player, I think he is the best player that I've ever seen us sign in the present moment, right? Since I've been a fan, and he's going to do very well. He's going to do special things. I think, struggles somewhat with the way that we play football, the variation in the way that we play football, the poor midfield behind him, which, we have seen up until now, which really makes it tough for a creative playmaker, a 10, to thrive, right? When there's just really nothing happening in the middle of the park from a tactical perspective, but he's getting there. And I have a lot of hope for Xavi.
I'm laughing here for those watching on our YouTube page, because you're saying he struggles with the way that we play football, and I'm thinking, well, he probably has a lot of company there, because a lot of us have struggled with the way.
Yes,
we play football.
yes,
but,
we have all struggled.
I think the key part of this for me too was, and I said it again, this is something I've said on the podcast already this season, but I think Xavi is going to thrive when he has time and space to thrive.
Yeah.
And this was a perfect setup for that.
Yep.
You're playing Brentford at home, a team that did not present much to you in the way of any midfield pressure. And
that's because Jordan Henderson's 49 years old, I think, somewhere in there. Like it's and Damsgaard looked like a day or two younger. Like Damsgaard looked really, really tough. I like him. He did not look good.
Well, he didn't, and I think, that's the reason he was hooked after about 60 minutes. He wasn't able to do anything, and I do think. The question I was going to ask about this match to both of you is, does this say more about Spurs or more about Brentford? And I think I know where I lean, but I also am completely comfortable with saying that I think this tells us a little bit more about what Brentford is going to be for the rest of this season. But at the same time, Spurs took advantage, and we haven't always seen them take advantage of a team not playing well. Well, other than when they did it against Newcastle a few days earlier. But I'm talking about in this scenario where you are the better team and that lesser team is not even really showing up. Like, they were bad. Brentford were actively bad in this game, and Spurs jumped on them and took advantage from the start. And I thought that was really important for Spurs to at least take advantage of.
Speaking of jumping on them, the Cuti Romero slide tackle yellow card on Thiago. He got the ball. He got the ball first. No, obviously, you can't go through the back of somebody,
Like,
even if they're Brazilian. Even if they're Brazilian and you're Argentinian, you can't do it. No, it was your standard Cuti Romero slide tackle to let him know, fuck you, I'm Argentinian and we won a World Cup. It's kind of how he does it. Him and Richarlison kick off. He had a literal Selly grudge match with Bruno Guimaraes in the Newcastle. Our captain is nothing if not a petty asshole, and I love it because sometimes you need that. Especially, he's just kind of carrying the Argentinian mantle that Coca Lamella left behind of like, make sure you shithouse just enough to let him know where you're from, and he does an awesome job at that, and I'm super thankful for it. I think that the other thing that needs to be talked about in this game, and you're right, Andrew, Brentford are very bad on the day, and I think it says a lot more about how bad they were versus how good we were in the moment. But we did see some tactical shifts from Thomas Frank, and specifically from a personnel standpoint, that midfield.
That's where I was going next. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk
Archie
about
Gray.
Yes,
Archie Gray looked fantastic, and Bentancur looked like he benefited from playing with somebody who's got legs. So it's like, okay, we've been trying to make Bentancur Polina's legs, and Bentancur doesn't have those legs anymore. So now instead, we're going to make Archie Gray Bentancur's legs, and it's going to do what we need it to do. And I don't hate that. The other thing that I wanted to say before we move off of that is Kolomouani looks really comfortable on the left wing, though I'm not a Richarlison guy up top. You know this. I can't wait for Dom Solanke to retire from football so we can get a real striker or come back. I mean, whatever works. Whichever one. No, but Kolomouani in this league is going to find more opportunities, I think, on the left wing than he will at striker currently.
Agreed.
I'm interested in that because I don't think you've been the biggest Kolomouani fan, but you're tending to like him over there, and I don't really disagree. I think he is the best option right now.
Well, he's more industrious than Tell, or he's more competent than Odebear. I still don't want to sign him and can't wait to send him back to France, but that's just me. I like the chin strap look for him. I'm sorry that he has to wear it, but I think it looks pretty cool. It reminds me of like a RoboCop kind of vibe. Anyway,
I kind of like when he gets subbed off and he pulls the thing off immediately. You can tell you don't want to be wearing that thing for 90 minutes.
No, that thing
No,
sucks.
no.
Especially, dude, if you actually have like a cracked jaw or whatever, you don't want to be wearing anything. That's fucking terrible. No, dude, I think this was the type of win that you expect a Champions League or a European caliber team to get in the Premier League against Brentford. There was nothing special about this match. I like the fact that Archie Gray and Javi Simmons both started in the midfield. I think that is a winning formula for Spurs. The interesting fit in there is going to be the Lucas Bergvall of it all as we get closer to that being a thing. It'll be interesting to see how they rotate? Do they work together? Can that be a thing? I don't know.
So in my mind right now, I think you play Bergvall in a match where you don't expect to have as much of the ball versus Simons, because Bergvall you want to press and create a little bit of havoc and chaos because he's just going to run at guys and do those types of things that he did in the Newcastle match pretty effectively for the most part.
Right.
And when you're playing a team where you expect to have more possession, more chances to score, more opportunity, like against Brentford, you play Xavi and you can see what he's able to do and able to create.
Yeah. I mean, I see that as an option, but when you don't have an offense, as we all three sat here and talked about, Scotty, you don't have an offense. Like the concept of subbing off your best offensive playmaker for another set of legs seems a little counterproductive. It seems a little pragmatic for my taste, as though you're trying not to lose versus trying to field a team that wins. I think putting Archie Gray with Bentancur, the reason why it didn't work when you left Polina as the constant, Scott, is because he can't pass. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, that's not his skill set. He's a great ball winner, truly great. But when you ask for him to play that straight six, he doesn't have the range to do that well. Bentancur, on the other hand, does a great job. And I'm not going to say he's an exceptional passer, but he does a great job of both winning back possession and then making the proper pass, not getting spooked on the ball, being able to find those outlets to the wings, which is what we need. I think when you add Javi Simmons to that mix, you have your attacking quotient. But when you add Archie Gray, it allows you to kind of move between offensive defense without feeling like you have so much grit in the gears. Without Javi Simmons on the outlet of that, if it's Lucas Bergvall, it doesn't. You're not going to get the offensive chances, brother. You're just not. And for a team that's woeful right now, Scotty, I don't know where else you would go.
Yeah, I have to say this carefully. Maybe a bit of a hot take, but I think we got to pump the brakes on Lucas Bergvall a little bit as a fan base. And he was good last year, but we were so bad. And when he won Player of the Season or whatever, I think people were just kind of like, I guess, sure.
Well, he won it by default. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think he's very young. Like, I'm not down on Lucas Bergvall. I think he's going to be an exceptional talent, but I think we have to pump the brakes a little bit because he's never going to. At this point in time, I shouldn't say never, but at this moment in time, he is not the 10 of Javi Simons, and he's not capable of doing what Sarr does. or what Bentancur does, or what Archie Gray does, seemingly, right? And again, this is a small sample size for Archie Gray, but Bergvall, I don't know that he does anything like exceptionally well. He does many things okay. And yeah, he was all right against Newcastle, but we were so bad in that game that like I really can't give the nod to anyone that was in the middle of the park for doing anything good, right? And so I think maybe I'm saying two things. One, pump the brake on Lucas Bergvall. He's got a lot of developing still to do. And two, I will say, and we may be in a little may have a differentiation of agreement here, but I think you have to play Xavi Simons every game, no matter what, at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm not going to agree with that at all. I think that what we're seeing in our midfield right now is we're seeing each individual has its own place to play with a different other individual. And I'm talking, like you guys are bringing up Polina. I think the coincidence in the last two matches that we got positive, we're talking about two positive results here. A draw on the road at Newcastle, a win at home against Brentford. João Polina did not start either match. If you ask a lot of people within this fan base, they would say João Polina would be one of the top three players of the seasons thus far because of what he's been able to do. But at the same time, TC, what you're saying is exactly correct. He can't pass the ball. He is a ball winner, a great tackler, but after that, you don't want him to do much else. When it comes to Bentancur, I think he might actually be the most, dare I say, versatile of our midfielders right now.
I agree.
He can play that Polina role, but he can also play more of a transitional box-to-box type role and can press decently well enough. When it comes to Sarr, I think that you're getting almost like a mixture between what Bergvall and Bentancur can give you. You know, he can give you a little bit of that defensiveness, but he can also give you a little bit of that box-to-box stuff going on. He's a little bit more attacking than Bentancur, but not quite as press-heavy and forward as Bergvall. And that brings me to Bergvall. I think the only thing that Bergvall is doing very, very well right now is having high energy and a motor that does not stop. And I think that's important in some matches, like the Newcastle match, where you know you're going to not have a lot of the ball, but you're going to want to press and you're going to want to force mistakes from the other team in the midfield at some points, because that's really going to be your only shot to get the ball back and maybe try and hit them on the counter or do something with it. And then when it comes to Xavi, I think he's purely the creative type that's going to need the time and the space around the ball like we saw him have against Brentford and be able to thrive in that matter. I don't think he has any other role other than to do that right now, and I don't think you can play him in a match like the Newcastle match, because you're not going to have the time and space on the ball away to Newcastle, as was evidenced by the way that they played.
But you can't deny the fact that it's Xavi Simons coming on absolutely changed the tone of that game. You can't deny the stats that say the games that Xavi starts, we win, and the games that he doesn't, we struggle. The games he doesn't play in at all, we flat out lose. And the games that he comes on as a sub, we have a decent shot of at least getting a point. So that would say to me that regardless of the game state, Xavi Simons makes this a better football team at the moment. And so I think that that's what Scotty's saying, and I would absolutely agree with that. Now, is an away day to St. James's Park favorable matchup for Xavi Simons? No, Joe Linton's going to kick the shit out of him. He's going to get absolutely crushed up and down the pitch. It's going to be shitty. They're going to curse words at him, and he's not going to enjoy his day, but he's going to make Tottenham better. And we don't have anybody else that does that right now. We have a pocket full of eights is what we're looking at. And that's cool and all, because you need to have a depth at midfield, especially when you're Tottenham fucking Hotspur. But you're absolutely right. However, I would say Lucas Bergvall's stats would actually view a lot more favorable than maybe just somebody with high energy that runs around a lot. He does a really good job of winning his duels. He does a really good job of of successful dribbles. He gets stuck in. His defensive stats are pretty sound for a midfielder. The issue is that we want blonde-haired, blue-eyed. We want our Martin Odegaard we want somebody who's going to bang it in, and he's not that guy. He's industry first.
I want to be really clear. Everything you just said, I'm in total agreement with when it comes to Bergvall, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on him as a player at all. I think that he has a specific spot that he works like this. I liked what he did against the guy, and I get what you're saying. Like after Xavi Simons came on is when we started scoring goals. I don't think that was purely down to Xavi Simons. I think that was a lot of Christian Romero grabbing his crotch and being like, watch what I can do. And I mentioned it earlier in the pod, but like Matisse Tell, I think, was a big part of that match as well, and the spark that he provided too. I think that Bergvall's role is, when I say run around a lot and have high energy, I'm not saying that's like as a negative. I think that's a really positive thing. And what you're saying with him getting stuck in and winning duels and like, I think that's all a big part of what he can do in a positive sense. But I think he's better suited to do that against a team like Newcastle away than he is against a team like Brentford at home. And I still don't really think Bergvall is a 10 in the long run. I don't think anyone does. I think
He's not.
I think he's more of an 8.
No, he's 8.
Let's let him, even if he's an 8, let's let him play in a little bit more of a forward role against a team where we don't think we're going to have a lot of the ball and a lot of the chances.
No, but we did that at Newcastle and we were fucking woeful. And then so you're waffling on this point, and I struggle with it. And the biggest thing is we need another 10. And we keep trying to talk about playing these other players forward, and we can't play them forward because they're not 10s.
Okay. I don't think you're trying to play him as a 10 in particular in that game. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I mean, okay, so you're playing the highest 8 on the pitch, but you're not getting offense from the center of the park then.
You're not, but you're trying to absorb the pressure that you can and have him have that high energy in a press to try and make something happen. I'm not saying it's a good strategy. I'm saying that's the strategy that they employed, and I thought that he did a good job at it.
I agree. Yeah. And we were shit, Scotty. So I agree that he did a good job of playing the shitty tactics that Thomas Frank set out for us to play.
Yes, I agree with that. And I'll talk about Bergvall a little bit more. I promise I'm not beating on Bergvall. I'm comparing Bergvall to Xavi Simons at this point in time, right? But if I look at the end of last year,
before you even do that, Scotty, before you even do that, like that's what I think we're veering down a dangerous path and even doing, because I think they're two completely different players who should not be compared.
I agree, but I think the comparison comes from the fact that if one of them's on the pitch, it's hard for the other one to be on the pitch. Is what I think I'm kind of getting at here, right?
That's all. Agree with that.
That's all this is, right? But Bergvall last year when we went on the cup run. It was mainly Basuma, Sarr, Bentaker that started in the midfield, right? He was injured. I understand that, right? So it's not like Andrew's choosing not to play him. But I say that to make the point. Bergvall has 1 year of Premier League football under his belt, and his team finished 17th. And beyond that, he has played in Sweden, right? On the other hand, Xavi Simons is a La Masia product. He's played for PSG. He, last year, in my opinion, was either the 3rd or 4th best player in the Bundesliga. It's Harry Kane, Florian Wirtz, and then probably Xavi Simons, followed by Jamal Musiala, and you can maybe flip-flop those two, right? But anytime you're the 3rd or 4th best player in one of your top 5 leagues, you're a very talented player. And we just talked about how transition takes time from when you're a small creative playmaker in Germany coming to England, right? So I think when we say Xavi Simons can do well in this scenario, but not in this, that's not down to anything other than the transitional period that he's going through, because he carries the ball very well. His progressive dribbles are very high. He has a great passing range. He needs more time on the ball, but I think that's more because Spurs are bad than anything, and Spurs can eventually figure that out. We have a strong central center back pairing. We're okay at the fullback position. We're great at right wing. We're generally poor at left wing and striker, and we struggle at the 6 and the 8. And if you go down that list, that makes it very hard for a 10 to do much, right? So I think the transitional period will end. Spurs will figure out how to have more of the ball. It's going to take a striker and a left wing signing probably at this point in time, right? Unless Solanke comes back and is more than what he's been, right, for Spurs. But Xavi Simons is extremely talented, and I would just I can't see a world where you choose to start someone over him if he's available and fit to go is really my point. He's just too good.
I think it's well said, and I think that the positive about all these midfielders that Spurs have is that there are options and that you can set up differently for different types of opponents, which we all thought was going to be one of the benefits of having Thomas Frank as the manager of this club. We'll see how that plays out. How are you guys feeling just generally and quickly? Because I do want to move on to some of the news and notes that we have from the week. But I think this time last week we were all feeling really, really bad about Thomas Frank. I'm not saying 2 matches would and 4 points from those 2 matches would flip everything around. But are we at least feeling like he has bought himself a little bit of time and we want to see this thing continue to roll along?
Talk to me at the end of this week. That'll tell me a lot. If we shit the bed against Slavia Prague tomorrow in front of Sonny, and then we lose to Bluto, and then we have to play Liverpool at home, then I don't think so. I think if we have a good showing tomorrow and put ourselves in a good position going into the new year in the Champions League with 3 points, has to be 3 points, and we're able to get we're able to get 4 points from the next 2 the next 2 Premier League matches. Like, I'm more open to it. I mean, I'm not calling for the guy's head because it's stupid and I don't want a caretaker manager. I think Thomas Frank, in being shitty, has a better chance of keeping us up than Justin Cochran at this stage, right? But I think that if we don't do well in the coming week, I think that it's going to make everybody ask a lot of questions going into a slow period right before the new year. So,
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I don't think he's the guy. But I also don't think this team is the team. So I don't really know how that all fits together, right? Our squad building has been so fucking poor. I mean, if you look at, we've waffled back and forth between attacking and defensive managers who all sign players. We've waffled back and forth between signing guys who are in their mid-20s who couldn't make it at clubs that are better than us, to signing $40 million teenagers. It's been a really poor experience from a squad building perspective, right? So I don't want to put it all on Thomas Frank, but I also think, like, yes, he did well at Brentford, right? He exceeded expectations, but expectations were very low. And he finished mid-table, right? I think his 9th was his highest finish. So if you want to go get like that, and I understand the feeling of look, I'm pissing Todd off here, but if I look at the crop of managers who were being discussed as like the next big thing in the Premier League, I think a guy like Oliver Glasner has proven a little bit more. I think a guy like Marco Silva, not this year, but has proven similar to what Thomas Frank has proven, right? So I think he's a good manager. I don't think that he is the guy that's going to take Spurs to the promised land, right? But again, I can't put it all on him because our squad is very, very poor, and that doesn't help him either. So I think he's a fantastic manager, but I'm not sure it's a long-term fit.
I'm really glad I asked you guys for like the quick response on how you're feeling about Thomas Frank, and you both gave me like 3-minute soliloquies. Thank you for that. That was really much appreciated. Go ahead.
Well, before you move on from that, I can't believe you're going to make me fucking defend Thomas Frank right now. I also don't think that he is the guy. I think he is way more, as I said on the last pod, way more akin to an AP history teacher than he is to a leader of a top flight football team. One of the biggest teams in the world. He got such a long leash at Brentford because he brought them from mediocrity, and he did so over the course of 7 years, and brought them up, and got them promoted, and took them from a yo-yo club to an established Premier League squad, and he deserves all the credit in the world for that. But he definitely didn't finish with the players with whom he started, and so there was definitely some turnover along the way. And if he was at a club where he could have kept an Ollie Watkins and played an Ollie Watkins with an Mbeumo or kept an Ivan Toney, because it's one of the biggest clubs in the world, like, that changes what he has the ability to do. I don't think that this is the squad yet. I'm not upset about spending 40 million on teenagers because if you want to buy the best prospects in the world, that's what it's going to cost. But the problem with buying prospects is, yes, you get to pay them like prospects, but sometimes they fucking play like prospects.
Exactly.
And whereas when you signed established Premier League players, you get established Premier League player play for the required pay. We have a mix. We're building more. I think January will be very telling in terms of the squad building, because it'll be a second window under Thomas Frank. And really, the first window, I think a lot of it had to do with players that were already on the move. And, you know, we're looking for that opportunity. Now, people see what this is. If we're able, and again, so much can happen over the course of the next few weeks, but if we're able to set up ourselves with, hey, we're in a decent spot for the knockouts of the Champions League. Hey, you know, we're within striking distance of the European places. Like, you're the missing piece. We just need the attacking presence, whatever it is. You might be able to make a splash or two, right? But if not, I think we replace him at the end of the year. I don't know that he'll get a longer leash than that. I'm not saying that's the right decision. I'm just saying I don't know that he'll get a longer leash than that. I'm also, Andrew, before we move on from this topic, I also struggle because I am the guy that says you need to build something. Nobody thought Thomas Tuchel would win Champions League at Chelsea, but clearly he wasn't the right guy to build a club around. I feel like Thomas Frank might have the ability to catch a lightning in a bottle at Tottenham and win us an FA Cup or something. But I don't know that he's the guy you want to build on, because I think the pressure of this job is a lot, and I don't know. I don't know that he's got that in the tank. I don't know that that's in the bag for him. So I'm not sure.
And to that point, I'm sorry, Andrew's like, please, can we stop talking about Thomas Frank?
No, you're good, guys.
But I have to point out, he's a brilliant tactician. Like, I have a lot of respect for Thomas Frank. I think he is a brilliant tactician. I think brilliant tacticians are very well suited to keeping poor teams in the Premier League, right? I'm not sure that just being in itself only a brilliant tactician is required to win Premier Leagues and win Champions Leagues. Like that, honestly, and I've talked about how I like the versatility and the flexibility tactically, but I also think that to be that caliber of team, like a City, like a PSG, you know, Bayern Munich now, these teams have a set way of playing and they're really fucking good at it, and they don't really need to vary that too much because they're super good and it's all about adapting to them. So I think and so one of you guys shared a really brilliant video about this. I think it was Lily White Lab who was talking about this, or I think maybe Todd shared it, but you know, spending each and every week prior to every match, changing your approach tactically, relearning the approach to the next game, like that might not be sustainable for a team that has the aspirations that we do. It's great for a team that wants to stay in the middle of the table on a really low wage budget, right? Because you can drop points and you can lose games. But like we are talking about Spurs fans being happy and excited and full of energy again because we beat Brentford 2-0 at home. That's a fucking absolute expectation, should always happen every single time, right? And I just want to pull back for a second and say there's a lot more than just the recent results going on here too when I say these things. So
no doubt about it.
I'm done.
Guys, let's dive into some news and notes. We'll do this fairly quickly. Heung-min Son, it was mentioned earlier, is coming back to N17 on Tuesday for the Champions League match against Slavia Prague. Going to be honored with a mural outside the stadium. Is going to get his chance to say goodbye. Of course, it did kind of a little bit get forgotten that he, you know, the last game he played for Spurs was played in Korea during the preseason, which was very strange. I think we all knew the possibility that he might be departing, but he never really got a good chance to say goodbye to the fans. So he will finally get that chance on Tuesday. We love to see it. He posted a nice message on his social media page explaining why he wants to be doing this, explaining how important it is, said it's going to be emotional. I'm sure we'll see him cry. I'd be delighted by it, all the things. So really happy for Sonny that he's getting a chance to do this, and I can't wait to see the mural. I've seen it like behind the scaffolding. They're almost done. I saw some social media posts with it. It's I'm pumped about it. So really, really happy for Sonny getting his chance to say goodbye. You mentioned like hoping that they don't embarrass themselves in front of him. I did look it up. Slavia Prague are unbeaten in the Czech League this season, 12 wins and 6 draws. They lead the league by 5 points, but they are also winless in the Champions League thus far. 3 draws, and they sit 31st out of the 36 teams. So this is a game you should win for sure, and do it for Sonny is what I say. Let's get that done.
Hell,
It should be similar to Copenhagen, I would say. This one,
I would totally agree. I think that's a spot on comparison. TC, you mentioned the FA Cup. We had an FA Cup draw earlier today. Spurs have been drawn at home. They will face Aston Villa in the 3rd round of the FA Cup in early January. These two teams, of course, met up last season in the FA Cup in the 4th round, with Villa winning 2-1 in Birmingham. There are only 2 other matchups out of the games in this round between Premier League sides. Everton will host Sunderland. Manchester United will host Brighton. In the league. Todd, I know you want to get at least a single shot off on this.
it's a dog water draw. I couldn't. I want, and I said it in the chat, I would give part of a pinky to see Spurs win an FA Cup this year. And this is the type of draw when you look at like the rest of the league getting Macclesby Town or fucking, yeah, God, dude, Boreham Wood or whatever the fuck it ends up being, like just these random dross teams. I think there was only a couple of other teams that got Premier League competition, and for us to get not just Premier League competition, it's not Wolves, right? It's fucking Aston Villa. Like, what are you doing to me? The only team that Unai Emery likes beating more than Arsenal is Tottenham, and it sucks. I fucking hate it. So I think this draw sucks. I hate everything to do with the fact that Emirates is still running the FA Cup, and I really want to fucking win one. There you go.
What good does it do us to play Boreham Wood, though? Like, if we actually want to go win the FA Cup, like, I don't think we can be too worried about how long we can coast to get there, right? Now that does increase your chances mathematically, right? I understand that, but my point is, like, I think we got much bigger problems than the draw, and that's my focus here. And I don't think playing a team in League Two benefits us in any way, shape, or form, right? We'll go out, we'll play piss poor, we'll win 3-1. And we'll all feel good about it.
And we get to rest. We get to rest players. We get to rest players in the meat of the season when rest is really important, which is what the other big teams are going to be doing, and we don't get that luxury. And that fucking sucks.
It's a good point, man. It's a good point. It really is. But all I'm saying is just like, if we want to win the FA Cup, just go beat Villa. I don't know. That's the way the cookie crumbles with this one.
These matches will all be played the weekend of January 10th, so by then Spurs will already have 2 new signings in the door, of course, so we'll have to see how the squad really looks by then.
Definitely.
I kid. Let's go to the next topic I have here, which is Destiny Udogie, set to miss the rest of the 2025 calendar year. He picked up a hamstring injury in the Newcastle match. I don't know what else to say to this one other than Jed Spence, welcome back to the starting 11 and get ready to play a lot, because that's not good. A lot of people tend to forget that this team only has 3 fullbacks on the roster right now, like in truth, that they've been playing. Now they're down to 2, at least for the next month. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. My guess is not very well, and I think this really does emphasize that this club needs to sign another fullback in January. Like, I think that becomes... not just because of this injury to Destiny Udogie, but his injury history, number one, and just the fact that they are very, very thin at the position. I do think a left back would be a great place to start in January. I know there are other needs, but this one is very pressing to me right now.
Who would you have? Do you think Jedi would go there in January with the season Fulham's having?
I don't know.
So who are you going to spend? I mean, and I guess
Yeah.
I know
We
that
got a lot of guys in
transfer.
charge of figuring that out.
I know that transfer market is your favorite topic, Andrew. But since you brought it up, I don't disagree. We do also technically have a few players that can play comfortably at that position if they absolutely have to. Mickey Van de Ven plays there for his national team. Ben Davies is still technically on this roster. And the most important point here is that we only have 4 matches in the rest of the calendar year. So there's a chance that by the time that this becomes an actual point, the Destiny will be back in training and fit again.
I sure hope so.
Is Reguilon that bad? Like, honestly, was Sergio Reguilon that bad?
He's holding out for a big club, remember? He wants to go play for
No, bro. Here's my thing about Sergio is that he just wasn't that good.
Correct.
Yeah, but is
Like, it's not that he's that bad, bro. It's not that he's that bad, but he's not that good. It's like Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Do you remember when Aaron Wan-Bissaka was all the rage and we really wanted him? We really wanted him, and he went to Manchester United from Palace. And everybody's like, "Oh, Aaron Wan-Bissaka went to United. They're going to be so solid on that side." And you know what? He wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. But he wasn't that good, man. He wasn't that good.
They were also
and that's
really
where we
bad. Oh, I don't know. Whatever.
You know who also is not that bad, but never gonna be here again is Ibasuma.
Motherfuck that guy. I've stuck up at that guy way more times than I want to care to admit.
So Ibasuma last week it appeared removed all mentions of Tottenham Hotspur from his social media, which I always kind of this is a very NBA thing to do. I feel like NBA players do this a lot. NFL players do it sometimes as well. It's always very silly to me. Like, what point do you think you're proving? Then it was apparently revealed that there has been a second, second laughing gas incident has happened. Thomas Frank was asked about this during his press availability prior to the Champions League match on Tuesday. He did not want to comment on it. He said it's an internal matter, and when he's ready to talk about it, he'll talk about it. I don't think he needs to say much. I think this guy is gone. It's weird that a few weeks ago there were reports that they were going to be working on a new deal for Ibasuma just so that he wasn't going to walk on a free. I think at this point they're ready for him to just walk on a free, get out of the club. I think we're all done here.
Yeah,
We've seen
but the problem is that he's a Premier League proven player, and as soon as he's fit and healthy again, he's going to command at least some. Like, you can get 10 million for Ibasuma right now.
Let's see another team take that risk on him. I'm good with it.
Well, no. I'm saying like.
But who's going to give you 10 million for a guy who just continually is
Turkey, bro? Fucking Turkey. There's going to be so many. There's going to be so much interest from people that are not in England, and he'll go. It's an AFCON year.
Send him there. I'm good.
Dude, there's 2 leagues he can go to: Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Those are the only 2 places where he can ply his trade going forward or whatever. The only thing I'll say about all of this is, as I've stood since the day we signed him, never should have signed that guy. See you later.
It didn't go very well, as we saw.
Yeah.
Lastly, in the news and notes before, and I do want to talk a little bit about Spurs Women here because they had another hell of a weekend. Spurs are heading to Australia next summer for preseason. They will face Sydney FC on July 19th before taking on Chelsea August 1st. It will be the first matchup against Chelsea outside the UK for Spurs, similar to what they did last year against Arsenal. This is the first time Spurs have actually been to Sydney since 2015, but they have been to Australia plenty, and I know you guys are both wondering, when are Spurs coming back stateside?
Those are
the answer to that, but
those are some of my favorite trips. Yeah, those are some of my favorite trips.
Oh, yeah.
That's Scotty and I got to meet out in San Diego. Man, that you still hear the guys talk about the fun that they had out in Tennessee. Yeah, man, it's Spurs coming to the States is a special thing. And I hope it happens again soon.
Mm-hmm.
I will say and I know many of our Australian listeners know this, but Sydney is a badass town. I've been there twice in my life. It is a really, really cool place. So any fans who want to make this trip, I would encourage you to do so because you will have a badass time in Sydney. It is a really, really cool place. There is a ton to do. It's beautiful. The people are lovely. Love Sydney. Love that Spurs.
Is that that's their winter though, right?
It is, but it's not. You're not getting. It's not a Minnesota winter down there. You're gonna be okay. Like the weather is not
All right.
bad. It'll be just fine for them to play down there. Let's get stuck in here on Spurs Women a little bit because they got themselves a thrilling home victory over Aston Villa on Sunday, a 2-1 win in come-from-behind fashion. Bethany England scores honestly a Christian Romero-esque headed goal, which was just awesome. And then late on, and I mean late on, deep into stoppage time, Olivia Holt comes through with the winner. They come from 1-0 down and facing, Aston Villa, who were down a player as well after a red card was given. This was a match that was kind of mostly dominated by Spurs, but they just couldn't get the actual goals until late. They outperformed Villa in pretty much every way. Drew Spence was once again just immaculate in the midfield, delivered the game-winning assist as well. I also really, really want to shout out Lena Gunning-Williams, who came on as a sub late in this game. The winning goal, if you go watch it, she has some brilliant hold-up play down near the end line and just is getting bodied, but uses her positioning so well to get the ball back eventually to Drew Spence and then eventually to Holt for the winning goal. It was a really gritty win for this team.
Yeah.
And I'm continued to be baffled by this team's transformation under Martin Ho and the way that they've done this, because we all saw signs of these players being able to play freely under Robert Villaham, and then it just went so sour so quickly. All of a sudden, this team has life again, and it's really, really good fun to watch.
Well, I want to give my weekly shout out to Amanda Nilden, who provided the other assist and had an outstanding game defensively.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really good.
Speaking of assists, how about Drew Spence no look pass on Holt's goal? That was fucking nuts. And honestly, there's scary parallels to me between Ange Postecoglou and Robert Villaham, and they got on pretty well and worked.
Dude. We compared them virtually every week on this podcast.
We did, right?
Strange.
And if you look at all Martin Ho came in and said, whoa, we just gotta have a little bit of sensibility to the way we play football, and I think we'll be okay, right? Just like Thomas Frank kind of did, right? Now the women's team's doing a lot better than the men's team. That must be said, but at least domestically, right? But Martin Ho clearly has experience. He's come in. That double pivot of Spence and Summanen is just super tidy and clean, and it's not flashy, but they just play really smart soccer. We've talked about the center back pairing ad nauseum, right? They're really tailor made for one another. So credit to Martin Ho for putting those two together. Now it helps that we play one game a week, right? We don't have to rotate nearly at all. Ash Neville's back playing well. As Todd already pointed out, Nilden's been phenomenal at left back, right? She's capable of defending, but also getting forward. She does both things well. And I think, again, as I've already talked about pretty much every week, he figured out how to get the best out of Beth England, whether it was at the 10 or at the striker. And this team is just absolutely, they're humming. They're a really, really good team. Now we have to hold our breath with Jess Naz, right, which I know we want to talk about.
Jess Naz went down in this match and had to be stretchered off, which is not a good thing at all.
No, sir.
And in the commentary, the discussions where we think it's the thing we don't talk about in women's football, right? Unfortunately, the team
not a doctor.
Yeah. So we'll see. But losing Jess Naz does hurt. So I think if that happens, LGW has got to step up probably, right? I don't know where else you turn to, but she's been really good. Her and Holt have been a really dynamic pairing. They're not quite wingers right now. They're more like wide attacking midfielders, right? But they've been an exceptional pairing 1-2 punch. So we'll see what happens there. But ultimately, the team sits, I believe, 1 point below Champions League spots, if I'm not mistaken, right? And as we've said, why at this point in time, if you're Martin Ho, you sit the team down and you say, we don't talk about this outside of this locker room. but we're absolutely fucking going for a Champions League position. That is our goal at this point in time for the rest of the season, right? There's no reason to not feel that way. And again, it's a tough ask. I'm not predicting it, but I'm just saying if I'm Martin Ho, that's the conversation that I'm having with my team.
Well, and you said it. It becomes much tougher if you don't have Jess Naz around going forward. They're also still going to be without Tinka Tanberg for a little while, at least through the winter break. They're also missing Olga Ottinen and Charlie Grant. The injuries are there, and it does become a little bit more of a challenge. A few things I wanted to point out, and a hat tip to Caroline on these. They've already gained 14 points over identical fixtures from last season. That's gained 14 points over those
massive
fixtures. So massive. They are in 5th place on 19 points through 10 matches. They were 6th on only 11 points at this point last season. Amazingly enough, they are sitting 5th on a 0 goal difference, an even goal difference, which is really, really wild. The 19 points that they have has them level with Arsenal. They are, of course, not beating them on goal difference, so sitting 5th behind Arsenal in 4th. But they are, as you mentioned, Scott, 1 point off of the 3rd place, which is Champions League qualification. This, so far, has been the second best WSL start through 10 matches. The best one was in the 2021-22 season under Rhiannon Skinner, where they had 20 points. They're on the 19 right now. However, if they happen to go next week and beat Manchester United, that would mark their best start after 11 games in a WSL season, which was 21 in that same season under Skinner. This would obviously get them to 22 and break that mark. So really important.
How is United?
Obviously. They're good, obviously. They're sitting 3rd right now. They're actually the next 2 matches are against United because they will face them in WSL play next week away, and then the following week away they'll face them in the quarterfinal of the League Cup. So back.
If you could only get one W there, which one do you take?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question, actually. I think you take the cup run at this moment because I think
in a quarterfinal, absolutely.
I think you get to a semifinal of a League Cup and you really have a chance to do something awesome there. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Arsenal and Villa on the other side, and you've already proven that you can do something against either of those teams this season. So I think that would be my choice there. But boy, would it be nice to hop right up over Man United at this point of the season and really be knocking on the door of a Champions League spot. I think it would be really, really cool.
Not to mention, there's extra motivation.
That's a tough one.
The core of our attacking talent skittered off to Man United in the summer, right? So I think there's a little bit of a bone to pick there, and I'd love for us to. Not really. I mean, these players probably don't care, right? But from a fan perspective, we have a bone.
Scott over here stirring up shit.
Look, the players' number one job is to honor the fans' wishes, and we want retribution. All right, we want retribution. So go get it done, ladies.
So elsewhere in the WSL, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but Chelsea lost for the first time in a million years. Their 34-match unbeaten run was ended this weekend in a 1-0 defeat to Everton. The 6th-time now defending WSL champions are 6 points back of Manchester City in the WSL standings thus far. That unbeaten run, by the way, goes all the way back to the final 3 matches of the 2023-2024 season under Emma Hayes, the now U.S. Women's National Team manager. So, we're going back a ways. They finally lost a match, and they are now 6 points back of City in the WSL table, which I'm not saying that's insurmountable because there are still plenty of matches to play, but it's going to be a tough climb for them because City are, once again, very, very good. So
I need to get to.
It's interesting this season.
I need us to get to a point in time where we don't rely on City to keep our London rivals from winning titles. We gotta get past that, all right? But for now, we'll appreciate what we have
on both the men's and women's side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I would say
on both sides of house.
I would say
yes.
I would say that opens up a can of worms that I'm not sure that we want to open at an hour and 9 minutes into this podcast.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not. And I appreciate you looking out for that. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the Tottenham Depot. Be sure to check out our episodes on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Tottenham Depot. And also leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice to help spread the word about the show. You can follow Scott at Scott G. Bird. You can follow Todd at TC_show. You can follow me at A Stedka. Most importantly, you can follow us at Tottenham Depot on all your socials for all of our podcasts. We will be back with you next week. Plenty to talk about. We've got plenty of games, plenty of news. We'll be here for it all. We will talk to you then. This has been the Tottenham Depot podcast. As always, come on, you Spurs.